Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, and getting better. Have you heard that one before? Well, thank you. I'm Ben Hansen. I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hello, I'm searching Silent Hill on the PlayStation Store right now.
And that's podcasting, everybody. The immediacy of this
No
medium.
results for Silent Hill. Try another search
That's
word.
podcasting. Talk about the internet over the last 10 years. Janet Garcia.
Hello. If you look at the YouTube version, we all waved one by one. It was very cute.
It was beautiful. Jacob Geller, welcome to the big show.
Please refer to me as Princess Beach.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, whatever you want, man. On this very episode, we are talking about so many things. We're going to dabble just in amuse-bouche, if that's the correct phrase, talking about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, because Kyle's been playing a little bit. But the bulk of the show, if I may, is going to be talking about the PlayStation State of Play. We just finished watching the big showcase. Expectations were scattered, a frenzy going into this thing, but I think it won a lot of us over by the end of it based on the reaction stream. You can go watch that on MinnMax's YouTube channel if you want to see Jeff and Haley in there, as well as Jacob and I react to that whole thing. And then back half of the show, we have some great questions from the community, and we're going to be joined by Double Fine's Tim Schafer. Always friend of the show, but he's literally never been on this show. I don't think so. And so he's going to be joining us to talk about Day of the Devs, some announcements there, and then also to answer great questions from the community that they submitted over there on Patreon. So look forward to that, everybody. Also, here's what we're not doing on this show. We're not going to have a bad time. We're all in agreement about that. We're not going to be talking about Persona 3 Reload. Not that those are connected. But Persona 3, I know like Kelsey is red hot on it. And we're going to be talking about that on a future episode of the MinnMax Show so we can give it more airtime, more space. Also, apologies. We're not going to be talking about Tekken 8. Tekken 8 on this episode of the podcast. But to make up for it, you can win a code for Tekken 8 on PS5. All you have to do is subscribe to the MinnMax Show podcast on Apple Podcasts and leave a review for this show and include some way to contact you. So easiest way would be Twitter handle or Discord ID. Just leave a review on Apple Podcasts for the MinnMax Show and include some way to contact you. Twitter, Discord, anything like that, and you are automatically in the running to win a code for Tekken 8 for the PS5. We'll be randomizing that and sending out a code on Monday, so thanks to everybody for watching on YouTube. We appreciate it, but there is a podcast version of this show as well, and you can subscribe to it. It would help us out, and you can win a code for the brand new, so hot off the presses game, Tekken 8, so you can check that out, everybody. Okay, a lot to dive into for PlayStation stuff. Before we get to that, Janet, how you doing? It feels like it's been so long since we've talked.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Hanging out, hanging in there, making content. It's another day in paradise.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it.
Good. That's nice. It's nice to hear every once in a while that it is fun, ultimately. Like, it's a lot of screaming about schedules and lining stuff up, and this podcast pivoted directions 4 times before it hit the airwaves, but it's like, it is fun to try and produce this every week. It's a fun scramble. Do you not agree, Janet?
No, I agree. I was just really curious what you're going to do when ending your sentence and also taking a swig of Coca-Cola.
That was the big just hope.
As we established, this is Ben Hansen's first podcast.
Yeah.
It feels like it, man.
The deep cut.
If I can pay Janet a compliment right off the bat.
We got a lot to get to, Jacob. We got a lot to get to.
Never mind.
Please, it's all I ever wanted.
I've been playing Prince of Persia, the new one, the Lost Crown Kingdom.
Yeah, okay. Question mark, but yes, that is the title. And I have continuously just been thinking, wow, Janet was so right when she said what this game was good at. Because it was like last week on the podcast, I think y'all were talking about it maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Janet, you were just like, the platforming is shockingly good in like a way that you would not expect from this game. And it's like, yeah, that I just keep thinking about that. And then I think, oh yeah, Janet said exactly that. And I'm experiencing that.
Yay. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm surprised, Janet, you platinumed the game. Mm-hmm. I've heard so many other podcasts where they're talking about it, like as the game gets deeper and deeper into it, they're like, Jesus Christ, this thing's hard. That seems to be a big takeaway. Oh. But no sweat off your back, it seems like.
No, I am genuinely very good at platformers, especially 2D platformers.
Really?
Like, yeah, I'm really good. Like, it's going to take a lot for me to not be able to do something. Like, I played Super Meat Boy on my laptop keyboard. Like, I'm really good.
Okay. And that feels like one of those games that they probably gave you a warning, like, don't play on your keyboard.
It's kind of like...
They absolutely did, yeah.
Okay.
You know what a tough platformer is kind of like? I'm like those people that like really spicy food, and I'm like
Yeah.
going for like the high level hot sauce, and I'm like, this is what I live for. That's how I am with platformers.
And it's funny because it's like I am, I think, pretty good at like, 3D action games, the Souls-likes and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But like I was playing Super Mario Wonder last year and thinking like, I am not good at this genre.
Yeah.
And kind of like frequently dying on things. And it's like, it's weird to have such like a core part of video gaming. It's like the 2D platformer, the thing that started it all, and be like, I'm not good at this. For some reason, I can't make these jumps. But Prince of Persia, I think like the controls are so tight that it's like making the jumps isn't just like landing on a platform is never hard. And I don't know what in a game sometimes makes that hard and sometimes makes it not. But in Prince of Persia, I always I just go exactly where I want to go. It feels like it kind of controls my thought.
Do you have some stylish action reflexes really popping in a big way for that game too, as a fan of that genre?
For sure. Like the bosses, I really enjoy kind of like, I think they do a good job of being like, okay, this boss is hard, but they have 5 attacks, you know? And if you learn all those attacks, you can learn the reaction to all of them. And like, that's what I love. And I love the bosses in Metroid Dread and whatever. And so I'm kind of like surprised by the platforming and then pleased by how hard the bosses are, but in a good way.
Yeah. It's funny to think of your position, Kyle, because you're like sitting in a chair going, ugh. No, it's funny to think of your position because you've been like Prince of Persia champion for like decades now because you love Sands of Time for so long. And now it's like, hey.
I still do.
I know, but now it's cool to have
Why
like.
are you accusing me of this?
No, I think it's cool to have like a reboot of sorts. I know it's going back to the roots of Prince of Persia here. Do you feel that pressure of like, wow, if I want to stay Mr. Prince of Persia, I got to make sure that I'm mastering this game as well now?
No, I mean, what a weird thing to ask of me. I don't feel like Prince of Persia defines me or anything like that.
What?
So you're not the game champion of Prince of Persia?
That's your one thing, dude.
That is, I go, yeah. But I do love, I've been taking Lost Crown very slowly. I've certainly been distracted by Like a Dragon. It has become we've talked about this a couple times, like my workout game, and then my, like lay in bed sometimes and play. So I think I'm only about halfway through, but I'm having a great time. And it's not who I am, Ben. I don't know why you think it is.
You're more than
He's Zelda.
I'm Zelda.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
Zelda. I always forget that. And also, apparently, you're, of course, the one and only, the master of the Suicide Squad. You got the little chip in your brain, dude. So again, this is a taste of where we're going because we're gonna be talking about Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League in a big way. I genuinely, when I think of like the gaming conversations I can't wait to have on this podcast in 2024, this is one of them. Like, I can't wait for a lot of us to play this thing and then talk about it next week when we can actually describe confidently our thoughts on Suicide Squad, the game that's taken so long. But you've played, what, a couple hours at this point, Kyle?
Yeah, probably like 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
Like played the first hour and a half, streamed it. Marcus Stewart and I were at Game Inform. We streamed it for about an hour and a half today.
Yeah.
And that's, I almost do want to wait to talk about it more because I don't know how I feel about it. I really don't. Like,
Okay.
I love Rocksteady so much. I adore the Arkham games. Like some of the best games ever made, period. If you want to talk about a game that defines me, it's the Batman Arkham trilogy.
Number one thing you got to know about Kyle.
Yeah. And there is more than I expected of like playing that game where I'm like, oh yeah, this is a sequel to Arkham Knight. This is the next part of the story. Like, there are characters that are popping up. There was a character who popped up earlier today when Marcus and I were streaming that both of us were like, whoa, this is really cool. I didn't expect this character to be here in this way.
Interesting.
And like the game starts out in Arkham Asylum and you see like the familiar. Yeah, you see the familiar, what are they called? Force fields and stuff like that. And then the moment to moment gameplay is like, okay, but it's a lot of wave-based shooting. And I don't love that, but they are executing on it well. Okay. Like, it's functionally good, and like the movement is cool. So there's a lot going for it, but it's just the sort of looter shooter nature of it, the genre of it, that I'm like butting my head up against a little bit.
And again, this conversation doesn't count because we're going to talk about it more next week, and it's going to be super informed.
Strike
and
this
smart.
from the record, please.
And I played 1 minute of the game and it told me that it fully completed. So I guess I beat it.
There's like the weird bug or whatever.
And then they gave you $20 worth of content, right?
Yeah,
So
it was really nice of them.
But is my arc of history correct when it comes to Suicide Squad, where everyone was pessimistic, was getting more and more pessimistic, it seemed like. Then there was like the private beta, and the people playing that were secretly whispering out there being like, it's not that bad, y'all. It's not that bad. And it started to come up a little bit. Then press previews hit and IGN said, this is a steaming pile of dog turd on my doorstep.
It just keeps
and
going
so
back
it
and
went back
forth.
down. And then it seemed like now, based on early impressions, the impression is, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's starting to climb up. And so I'm wondering how far back up that hill of not that bad Suicide Squad can climb, you know?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's certainly, I think there was a little bit of a fear at a certain point of it being like a disaster.
Yeah.
It's not that at all.
Right.
It's really, there's cool characters, fun story. It's and then the shooting is solid, but it's just, I think we just expect more from Rocksteady. I know I do.
Sure.
Like they really were game changers, I think, in a way, with Arkham Asylum and the combat in there, where this feels a little more familiar in a way that's a little underwhelming, but then other elements of it are really strong. So I definitely want to see the story through to the end.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
Do we know how long that story is?
I don't. No, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's kind of my fear is like, I'm interested in the story. I want to know if they kill the Justice League or not. But like, if I could mainline the story in like 12 hours, that seems cool. But if it, like, by nature of it being a looter shooter living game, it's like they're doling out little pieces of the story for like 35 hours. Like I can't do that.
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
and to be clear, I mean, we wanted to play this game. We did not get codes from WB early. We still technically
Nor
have
did
it.
any reviewer.
Right. Which
Yeah.
is that classic thing of like, well, for people buying this game, it sure would be nice to have reviews on day one. So it's a bad look, WB. But then again, it's their game, it's their company. It's like, I don't blame them. Like with the way like those previews went, like,
It's the only thing they have control over. Really,
Yeah,
when
right.
it comes to perception.
So-
but yeah, I don't love it. I think consumers deserve to know, sort of critical reception of a game before they make a purchasing decision.
hero of the people, Kyle. So we'll talk about it next week a little bit more. Let's dive into stuff that we do know everything about. Unless, Janet, you have a hot take, please.
No, it's not a hot take. I just wanted a quick clarification on the timeline. Previews came out before beta commentary. They actually said, hey, that NDA you signed, don't worry about it. You can talk
true.
about.
That's true, but there was people leaking through the beta. Like those
Okay,
types of rumors
sure,
getting
but
around.
just like, I don't know. Like to me, for timeline, I don't know how much the leaks. I guess if you want to count that, then yeah, sure. And I will say too, and I feel like when the game was first talked about, I felt like I heard a lot of positivity just around the concept from the fact that it's Rocksteady. And then I think that first chonky gameplay reveal is when people started to wonder, I don't know. And then since then, it's kind of been an ongoing conversation. I'll be playing tomorrow. So
Hot damn. Okay. Hey, Sony State of Play. They got there and said, hey, it's going to be 40 minutes. You'll see more from Stellar Blade. Jacob Geller will squeal like an angel. You'll see more of Rise of Ronin, but everything else, we'll see how it goes. We'll have some PSVR 2 stuff. We'll see how it goes. The overall State of Play, I thought it was bold to open with a big deep dive into Stellar Blade and a lot more details into that game than I was expecting in this venue and stuff like that. But overall, the show, I feel like it just kept building and building. Pacing was a little off, right? Where it's like a big chunk out of the gate and then a bunch of rapid fire trailers. And then by the end, Hideo Kojima, we are begging for forgiveness for everything we've ever said towards him. But there's a lot to unpack here. But Jacob, what sings to you the most? Where do you want to start with this whole thing?
Look, we finished watching the reaction stream 10 minutes before this podcast was slated to start. And in that 10 minutes, I watched the Death Stranding trailer in its entirety one more time because it is 10 minutes long.
Perfect. All right. Death Stranding 2.
Was it really 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Kojima stuff at the end was like an additional 3 minutes where he was just talking and then they zoomed out of the studio.
Oh, I can't wait to unpack that. That's
like
the
a
highlight of the whole thing for me.
We're in a movie studio.
It's so good. It's so good. All right, but Death Stranding 2. Now, last time they revealed it, they said, hey, it's called Death Stranding 2, working title. And now we know why, because the official title is Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. And it's coming out 2025. But all right, Jacob, Death Stranding fan number one. What pops for you?
I mean, I think with the original Death Stranding trailers, if you think about them, like a lot of them were really specific moments from the game that like were in the game. They were not misleading trailers, but it did not really communicate this is what the game's going to be about, because most of Death Stranding is walking with a backpack on through beautiful environments. And I think that this trailer is pretty similar in that there are some scenes that they're showing big parts of that are like probably these big kind of climactic cutscenes that you're going to get at the end of a lot of gameplay.
Yeah.
But like the gameplay stuff that they were showing too, I was hooting and hollering for, because like now that we understand what Death Stranding gameplay is more or less, seeing him walk through what I think is Mexico, seeing like a flash flood come on. There's a part where he's like walking on, you know, like on a sand dune in a desert. Like, you know, the America as Iceland landscape of the first game was really cool and beautiful, and I didn't get tired of it.
Yeah.
But the idea of like them going so much wider with the scope of landscapes that the game is going to be set in is really exciting for me.
Seeing him in a desert and all that stuff definitely pops, and having those environments be a little bit more dynamic. And yeah, it's taking place on the Mexican border and the UCA. You're leaving that world behind, and Fragile's doing a lot of exposition in this trailer to try and unpack that. I'm afraid the Death Stranding is far from over.
Some version of Fragile, I guess, right?
So this is what
I don't know how technical we want to get here.
Well, it is very odd because first things first. Well, there's a lot to unpack in this trailer. The ship is called the Magellan. Is that what we've learned here? The Magellan flies out
I trust you. I missed that detail.
Okay. But flying out of the baby's mouth. And then when we see the characters inside the ship later, they all have like a blue tint to them. So it's like, is this all some weird inner space version of this ship? Or is this like some, I don't know, hologram version of them representing when they're in the ship? Jacob,
I thought it was some kind of simulation. I just assumed.
I thought that they were. I will probably be entirely wrong when the game comes out. I thought that they were literally small, and when they got small, they also turned like grayscale.
That was my read as well.
Sure,
maybe.
Why not?
Maybe that's the wrong way to perceive this, but that's certainly the way they're presenting stuff overall. There's just when they're jumping through all those gameplay shots, just like seeing the huge ship, obviously as a Metal Gear fan, is exciting. Seeing like that gigantic moon is awesome. And,
it is really, it's like, you know, we go back and forth on Kojima and, you know, lots of different ways, but I feel like the thing that Death Stranding has is like every shot is so like visually interesting. Every character design is so kind of like unique in a way that it's like, sure, they're playing on tropes, you know, they're like, it's like, oh, we got the robot samurai guy before, but it's like, you've never seen, it doesn't feel like it's just doing a variation on a theme, you know, like the Yoji Shinkawa art direction and whatever for these games just kind of makes the design of everything look completely unlike anything else. And it's like, it's so exciting to just have these like montages of images, and every image has like, what, the car is designed that way, you know? And it's like, it's just a car. It's just a car that he drives around in. But like, this car is weird and it's interesting in a very specifically Death Stranding-y way.
Yeah. Although there was a shot of a big goopy hand and him being attacked that was clearly Tears of the Kingdom ripoff. It's the Ganon spooky hands. So Shinkawa, I don't know what he's doing.
It's that boss in Ocarina of Time where you shoot the eye.
So yeah.
Plays the drums.
Yeah. Janet, anything stand out for you in the Death Stranding 2 trailer?
How many questions I think anything that Kojima does. Like when a trailer comes out like this, it's like image after image that's like visceral and disturbing or really pretty. Like that's sort of the smattering of flavors. So yeah, it's just, and I feel like this is kind of too, you know, speaking of going back and forth on Kojima, like the thing that people end up being hot or cold on all the time, where it's like,
cold,
I mean, what is this really telling us? Like, what are we even seeing here? Just a bunch of stuff. And it's like, yeah, but like the stuff's kind of evocative though, isn't it? Like that's kind of where I land on it. Like I am always very intrigued by the aesthetics and the world building, even though, yes, admittedly, some of it is up for debate on how effective I think it is in its execution. Again, I have not spent significant time with Death Stranding. That's still on my backlog, so I don't have like.
You were streaming it a while ago, weren't you? I could have sworn it was like over Christmas or something. You were streaming.
That was like 2 years ago, just for fun. I was like, what if I was the delivery man? You know, it's like that's kind of like Santa, right? But I am intrigued by the idea of it. I just kind of put it down just sake of time. Kind of got away from it, but Yeah.
I'm in the same camp as you, Janet. Like, I feel embarrassed about it because, like, oh, I love Metal Gear. And I liked the couple of hours that I played of Death Stranding in 2019, and I just never went back to it. And I feel like this is the kick in the butt that I need.
This could be our new thing. This our new thing of the year.
This could be Kyle's Prince of Persia.
Enter Sam.
Exactly.
Man.
It only takes one, Ben. We only have to achieve this one time for us to have achieved it, you know?
No, I'm with you. It is funny. Like, everyone's like, oh, Kojima, all right, enough of you with Hollywood. We get that you like Hollywood. We got it. And then this trailer opens with George Miller, director of Mad Max, as a character. We're like, this rules. Just immediately 180 on everything I've ever said.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I was like, this guy looks real familiar. He's somebody. I wasn't, okay, but George Miller.
And it is the same thing as Guillermo del Toro, where it is not George Miller acting, but it's like George Miller's body is scanned in and kind of playing the character.
And he has a little cute demon cat, which is adorable.
He has a demon cat. There's a marionette. There's kind of a puppet little character.
Yeah, we should really unpack this. Oh, by the way, also there's a marionette character that's like stop motion animated, apparently as an homage to Guillermo del Toro again. And Mimir at the same time. Yeah,
yeah, and Sam goes to put him on his belt, and he's like, oh, Sam, not near the buttocks.
You've been done in too many games. We can't have that in Hellblade coming out so close to each other. And so now he's on the front, so it's completely different. But it is a stop motion character in this game that again is like, okay, are we in Wacky World, or is this supposed to be a tangible thing that's understandable? Like, it's just
you know. Okay. You know what's funny is like I love Kojima. I will take any trailer that invites more questions. I don't care. Like I want to be as confused as possible before I hit start on Death Stranding 2. I don't mind at all, right?
Yeah.
But all that said, I did hit a moment when Higgs was playing guitar to attack people where I was like, I think this might be my line. Maybe
really?
I think this is too stupid. But
I saw that and I was like, I love video games. I wish I could tell. Childhood MGS2 stand me. I'm like, all right.
I guess
let me tell you what Kojima's up to.
The puppet, I'm like 100% on board on weirdly, but him soloing away on a guitar to fight was like is crossing into Devil May Cry 3
I think it's
or something. I don't know.
Troy Baker is not cool, and it's trying hard to make him cool.
Hot take, hot.
Sorry,
I mean, Indiana Jones
Higgs is not cool.
Right. It is.
He looks like the Crow now for some reason.
It does feel like they're trying to give him the Raiden treatment from Metal Gear Solid 4 of like, okay, you weren't nuts about Higgs. What if he comes back and he's Robo David Bowie? Like, isn't that pretty cool?
But the trick there was like Raiden was pretty damn cool in Metal Gear Solid 4.
4 maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you don't think fighting someone with a guitar is cool, Kyle, then I don't know.
I mean, look, in context, maybe I will love it. Maybe it all works.
Yeah.
I will weep. I will have mascara running down my face.
To recap that, Kyle, is it that it feels too cheesy, or is it that what's the pain point?
Yeah, what's your problem,
I think it's cheesy without being weird. Like, I don't think I think maybe it's not weird. It's not a puppet. It's not like a puppet hanging from your hip.
Okay. What if goo shot out instead of electricity? Like, is there a way to weird it that would make it?
Well, Kyle,
what if it was like instead of a guitar?
Yeah.
I mean, you're forgetting. You're saying it's not weird.
Like, I don't know. We can work it out, Kyle.
Yeah, we
Come
can
on.
figure it out.
Are you forgetting that he's fighting a robot with a giant blade that seems to be the baby from the first game, making like baby sounds as he's fighting him? That's not weird enough for you?
No, that's weird. That's proper weird.
Okay.
I don't know. Playing guitar to fight feels like sort of
that's
an
like
adolescent version of cool, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
When I unlocked the guitar in Devil May Cry 3 in high school, I was like, all right, this is pretty sweet. you know? But I moved on. I'm a parent now. I live a different life.
I get it. It is wild to think of you being like, well, I don't want to know too much about Death Stranding 2 before starting it. And this is, still probably well over a year away. And this is 10 minutes of basically exposition. And it still feels like you don't know that much. That's pretty impressive.
I guess not impressive. It's not that I don't want to know. It's that I don't mind being confused.
Sure.
I am very adamant that I don't mind trailers fooling me and tricking me. One thing that came up recently, because the commentary for Last of Us Remaster has been being shared around a lot, is they discuss how they changed the trailer so it seemed like Joel appeared later in the game.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how they kind of like regretted that. And I was like, no, I want that. Like that, fool me as much as you want in trailers. I don't care.
The ride that the developers had in The Last of Us 2 is like something that no human should be subjected to. So it makes
right.
sense.
It's a different, maybe not appropriate to compare it because it did cause problems for them that they didn't want. But I'm all about being confused from trailers and being tricked. They did that for Metal Gear Solid 2 and TV commercials, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, they do explain in this one that you don't know a goddamn thing about Lou, as Norman Reedus explains. So maybe that applies to the overall game, Kyle. You don't know what you're getting into, man.
Well, I'm swapping a rope for a stick this time. I know that much. On this round,
absolutely.
So I'm ready.
Jacob, the premise seems okay for you?
The premise, the thing that we all know and easily under. I think the idea of them going more worldwide seems really neat. As corny as it is, I love the tagline being like, should we have connected? Sure. I think is what it is, which is like, I think with Death Stranding came out in 2019, right? Yep. So like people talking about how Kojima predicted the pandemic and whatever. I do think the idea of like, is the internet a good thing? Not a new idea, arguably the same thing he's been working with since Metal Gear Solid 2, right. But like, I'm ready to hear more about it. I am down with that theme.
Yeah. I was so excited to see Kojima out there. Death Stranding 2, yes, look, I'll get into this one. I swear I'll get into this one and make up for everything I've done wrong in the past. But I thought they were just still talking more about Death Stranding when Herman Hulst came back out, which, by the way, overall state of play, it seems like they were highlighting Herman Hulst more than they have in the past. Like, all right, here's going to be your new face of PlayStation, everybody. Here we go. Forget Jim Ryan. So he came out at the end to talk about. I think so too. I think he's good. He's a confident man. But he came out to talk to Kojima a little bit more. And then the way they were talking about this is very compelling, where they explained that for a long time now, Herman Hulst has been begging Kojima, getting on his hands and knees and groveling for him to create a new next generation action espionage game. Basically, it seems like they've been having a lot of behind the scenes discussions about, hey, Kojima, can you just make a PlayStation exclusive Metal Gear? Please just go back to Metal Gear and make it. And that's what they announced, although very clearly this is a new IP, as Kojima said. This is a new next generation, so PlayStation 6, presumably, because they said they're going to work on it after Death Stranding. PlayStation 6 game that's a spiritual successor to Metal Gear Solid, which is very exciting. And then it started swerving a little bit, where I was still on board this crazy train, but it started picking up speed, where the way Kojima is describing it, where he's like, look, of course this is a game. It's an interactive game, but it's also a movie at the same time in terms of the story and the script and the costume and all this stuff. And it's going to transcend the barriers between games and film. And I like working with Sony because not only do they make games, but they make movies, they make music. And so he seemed to be in a weird overlap, kind of. I want to go back and compare the exact language for how he talked about OD, that Xbox game, because that one also seemed to be one where he's like, we're blurring the boundaries between film and games. And now for his spiritual successor to Metal Gear Solid being another instance of him blurring the boundaries. Okay, I'm on board, but this is going to be weird.
It's so funny to think about like that exec being like, please, can you make another game where you sneak around? I love sneaking around and like shooting guys with tranquilizers. And he's like, yes, I hear you, a movie.
No, it seems like and Remedy went because like let's just everyone get together at this point, because I feel like, I mean, this is sensibilities that Kojima's been chasing for, oh God, no. But you know, Kojima's always had that sensibility, so it doesn't. I'm curious what that means in practice, because I think as much as Kojima evokes, you know, obviously heavy cinematography, working with actors, I don't know, maybe does Death Stranding 1 do like funky genre bending medium stuff? That's the thing. I feel like, well, go ahead, Jacob. You're the.
I think the impressive thing about Death Stranding is how mechanically like sound and fleshed out it is. You know, that it is like, it is really a game with like good game mechanics.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting that Kojima in this thing, he also said like, hey, I've been working on games for 40 years. And so this project's going to be kind of a culmination of my entire career. And I think it's probably just code for going back to some Metal Gear style thing. It's kind of going back to his roots, but also tying in his love of film and everything like that. And then Kyle, like you mentioned before, like that drone shot at the end, just slayed me, where they were so proud of themselves for revealing we're in the Columbia Pictures lot. Isn't that cool to be in a soundstage? And now we're going to, instead of the drone flying through a bowling alley in Minneapolis, Minnesota, we got a drone to fly out the door and reveal that it's Hollywood, baby. We're here. And again, easy to mock Kojima, but I'm on board for this type of stupid nonsense.
Yeah.
Sure.
Unlike a guitar used to fight enemies, it's dumb in the right way.
Dumb in the right way.
Hey, I'm pro enemy guitar until proven otherwise. Maybe I'll eat my words in,
you will regret your words
100
and
hours
deeds.
it takes to get there, but
yeah. Let's see. What Kyle, what popped for you throughout the rest of the show? What was your favorite thing?
The Silent Hill stuff was exciting. Yeah. Because it was like that. I'm sorry, I've already forgotten the name. Because we are kind of jumping right into this after the stream.
The short message.
Silent Hill, the short message.
The short message. Yeah, that started out, and I was like, "What is this? Is this F? Is this Silent Hill
yeah,
F?
I
What
thought
are
it
we
was
looking
too.
at here?"
Yeah.
And then it kept going and kept going, and I was like, "Oh, first person." So this is the trajectory. This is the post PT Silent Hill, right? And then they revealed that it's going to be out later today or tonight.
It's
or something
out
like
now
that.
for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is very cool and interesting and exciting, and I want to try that for sure. And then it was just nice to see Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Like, what is this thing going to be? And it looks quite faithful, which is exciting and interesting.
Yeah, it is wild to think of that idea of Konami trying to drop another PT experience of like, hey, Silent Hill is a short message, first-person horror game set in Silent Hill universe. It's out right now, everybody. I mean, very much going back to the launch of PT in the same showcase that then Kojima kind of closed out. It's a weird.
I wonder if he knew.
I mean, he must have.
cared.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What does he care about? It's a good question.
It's like, well, can we get the drone shot? They're like, yes. It's like, all right.
Perfect. But yeah, it seems like a lot of self-torture in the trailer. Like, what have I done to deserve this? And it's a lot of notes taunting that character and stuff. But we'll talk about Silent Hill: The Short Message a little bit more next week for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to try it.
Yeah, for sure. Janet, you want to hit something?
I don't know if this is my next top of the list thing, but Stellar Blade.
Yeah. Okay. They were making a big deal out of it. I was kind of surprised that it was this front and center in every which way. So I guess Sony has confidence in it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's been, I don't want to call it a flagship title. It's a little dramatic, but it's definitely been at front of PlayStation marketing for some time, but it's also been very quiet on it. It kind of rolled out and it's like, oh, cool, this looks interesting. And then we hadn't heard about it for a really, really long time. So it was good to finally get the answers that as someone that saw that when it first dropped, okay, let me see a little bit more about the game and let me finally get a release date. Yeah, it looks just like a super solid, action experience. I kind of got vibes of a lot of games I've enjoyed to varying levels, but the essence, I kind of am hoping it comes together in a cool way.
Nier Automata, a lot of people were referencing that, I think, in there.
Yeah, Nier's definitely a huge
Nier's
point.
the best version of what they were. It's like, hey, if that's an automata, oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, I would be shocked if, again, I actually haven't played Nier, but it's such a high pedigree that I don't think it's necessarily going to hit that level, but that, it kind of reminded me of Scarlet Nexus a bit, a game that I thought was super solid.
Yeah.
Admittedly didn't finish it. And Recore, a game that failed, but had really cool ideas. So
Janet, I love how often you bring up Recore. Someone needs to bring it up. Someone needs to just run with that torch.
It's like it didn't affect everyone the way it affected me.
I get it. No, I completely get it.
It's hard for me to wrap my head around, but here we are.
Jacob, Stellar Blade, you are a big Bayonetta fan, and you went into this thing red hot, and it wasn't until they got into the rapid fire action that it seemed like you woke up again, because they did a lot of lore setup.
Not to play marketing for Sony or Shift Up or whoever, but I do not feel like this was the proper form of trailer that they should have chosen, because Stellar Blade, what's appealing to me is that it is a cool looking sci-fi game with fun character designs and a lot of very flashy punching and kicking. And they did an explainer of here's what this game is, and just explained really boilerplate video game ideas. There are going to be side quests and you can buy items. And I was just this isn't making me want to play the game more. Right. At the end when they started showing cool finishers on crazy looking enemies, I was I'm back in. But I don't really care about the lore or character relationships that much. The game maybe will make me care about them. And I certainly don't care about like a kind of open world where you can do sub objectives. You know, like it felt like for me, they were not approaching it in the right way, but maybe it's because I'm already sold and they needed to get people who maybe want it to be a little more of an RPG. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they're trying to find a new audience because the first trailer is very much like stylish action. Come here for stylish action. You know, so they're trying to show.
They were like, look at this lady's butt.
That was definitely the angle. That was the bullet point in the first one, I think.
That was a bullet point on the back of the box.
Because it had a vibe, and people were rooting for it last time I saw Stellar Blade. Of like, oh, this seems like a cool B game. You know, like Jacob even made the comparison to like Wanted Dead, which maybe would be like a C game. I don't know exactly what you want to call that thing from a couple years ago, but
yeah, but it looks I don't know, kind of like a binary domain or something.
Yeah, okay.
You know, like there were in the PS3 generation, we got a lot of cool games about robots that kind of came and went, and like I would love more of those.
Yeah, well, we're getting it April 26th for Stellar Blade from Shift Up, which is a Korean developer. I'm curious to see how it all comes together. Let's see, they announced a new version of Sonic Generations now with Shadow in there. Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, of course. That's exciting for some folks out there. Foam Stars is in there.
Can we talk about Judas?
Yeah, let's talk about Judas. The character or the game?
Oh, yeah, he betrayed Jesus.
No good. No good, very bad, don't do it.
And Jesus totally called it, too. It was wild.
Yeah, that was wild. That's like Babe Ruth pointing, the first instance of that.
It's going to be you.
This was surprising. This is Ken Levine, Ghost Story Games. This is the game that remember BioShock Infinite, everybody? After that game, when Ken Levine's like, I need some time, and I need a small team, and I'm going to work on my narrative Lego experience. And now it's the year 2024, over a decade later, and we're seeing it. This is it, baby. I was more into this than I thought I'd be. Like specifically, the like enemy designs were a lot weirder than I was expecting. Just weird little robots from hell jumping around and stuff. So I was into it. I don't know about the narrative stuff they were presenting, but what popped for you, Jacob?
It reminded me of the first time I saw a trailer for We Happy Few and thought, wow, this looks really interesting. And then I found out that was like a survival game and was not interested anymore. But yeah, I think like if part of the legacy of BioShock is really interesting environments with weird characters, and like that seems to be there, you know, and so the other part of BioShock, the kind of societal commentary and whatever, it seems like there is some storyline about kind of mass surveillance, about kind of government control or something. Hard to say. Seems like a kind of fun sci-fi dystopia is basically what it's working with. And like what I saw looked interesting. You know, like I was not like, oh, another one of these, which is good.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Yeah, the animations looked a lot cooler than I thought, and seeing little truck robots storm around there and stuff. And they didn't give a date. They said it's in development for PS5, and the tagline is "Fix what you broke," of course. So I'm curious to see the structure of this thing. If it is narrative Legos, like, is it going to be kind of a rogue-like structure, or how is this thing?
Is there anything that lends you to think that it will be narrative Legos, other than that's the last thing Ken Levine said like 9 years ago?
Well, in recent interviews, he's also cited
he was
like,
on the Game Maker's Notebook, right?
Yeah,
I listened to that, and he was still talking about it. Like that interview is funny because he's like, this doesn't necessarily pertain to Judas. I'm not here to talk about Judas,
right?
But I still really like narrative Legos.
Yeah, I think this is still that project, so we'll see how it all comes together and stuff. But Metro Awakening VR was an exciting one. That was an interesting one. I was curious to see how they're going to frame any VR stuff in here, because we could certainly use a second wave of enthusiasm. And no, they did not get Half-Life. How dare you? You didn't answer the call of the mountain?
Hey,
phone's
say
ringing.
I'm rude, but they won't say I'm wrong.
All right.
I played that whole ass game.
So everyone's
I actually did enjoy Call of the Mountain, but I didn't finish it, which is also damning.
And I did finish it, and I didn't enjoy it.
Oh man, honestly, I wish I was you. Like, is that toxic? I'm sorry.
It is. No, but everyone was screaming like, look, we'll get a PSVR 2 when you bring Half-Life Alyx to it. And then Sony said, what if we gave you a Metro game that looks a lot like Half-Life Alyx? And the world said, maybe. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out.
Metro is cool.
Metro's cool, no doubt.
The PC Gamer article on this, I'm not sure exactly what they're quoting, but they say it's a story-driven VR adventure where you turn into a supernatural being while you look for your wife.
Yes.
Hell,
that's good.
Yeah. It is not an exclusive. MetaQuest just tweeted about it. It's coming to MetaQuest in 2024 as well, which is, again, we don't need to be business people, but it's like, I feel like you could use an exclusive like this for PSVR 2 at this point, but sure, it seems well done. It's in collaboration with Deep Silver, coming in 2024 for a new Metro game. Janet, are you going to play it?
No, it's just too scary for me. Like
do
like Metro regular, like playing Metro Exodus, the only Metro game I've played, like that game's kind of scary, and the thought of doing that in VR, absolutely not.
Yep, I get it.
But it is a really cool concept because the Metro games have to do so much with like masks and like wiping your mask.
Yeah.
It's like that seems cool in VR.
Fog us up, dude. Speaking of fog, Until Dawn.
Was that the tagline for Metro? Fog us up, dude.
I think it was. But Until Dawn is coming back. They say remaking. It's the classic confusing Sony terminology. Rebuilt and enhanced for PS4 is how they're describing it. And so the new version of Until Dawn is going to be coming out in 2024, which maybe getting more hype for the movie or whatever that they also recently announced.
Did they show Rami Malek at all, Mr. Robot himself?
They didn't show him, but
they did not show him at all in that trailer.
You think he's too good for this now? He doesn't want to lend his license to it again?
It's a remaster of the PS4 game, right? So, I mean, he's probably still in there, but that would be weird if they recast somebody.
It would be really weird if actors' likenesses started expiring the way that music does, where it's like we're remaking it. I mean, the Spider-Man remake, they changed what his face looked like. That wasn't because they lost the rights to that guy, as far as I know. No. But like, it would be like, sorry, Norman Reedus's contract for Death Stranding was only for the next 20 years. So now we have to change him to someone else.
He slowly fades out of existence and into another face, like an Animorphs book.
Is this Until Dawn's first time on PC? Yeah, right?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, maybe that would be a big push for them. I think you might be right.
I mean, isn't that what it basically is? I mean, I guess they did maybe touch it briefly or something, but it's just a version on PS5 and PC is the big news.
Right. Well, it's rebuilt, as they're confusingly explaining. But is Until Dawn on Steam? I don't think so.
No, like it's new to PC.
Nice. That'll be big. Let's see. Another thing that they're really highlighting was Rise of Ronin, which is the new Team Ninja game from the developers of Wo Long and Neo, if you recall that. But this is taking place in Yokohama, as we all know from the Like a Dragon series, in 1858 now. Kyle, is this your cup of tea? Rise of Ronin, what they're showing here?
It looks cool. I've kind of been on board with this even before this footage.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's not like I'm a big Japanese film buff. Like I haven't watched any Kurosawa movies or anything really, but I love Ghost of Tsushima so much.
Okay. So now anything that's in that vein, like open world, old
that's
Japan.
What I'm saying. I don't know if that's an instant, like, yeah, you like Ghost of Tsushima. How about this? But just this, that was an early trailer where you saw a character like jumping from a high height and like flying a little bit.
Yep.
And it's like, and it looks good. And Team, I almost said Ninja Theory. Team
Everybody
Ninja has been doing good stuff lately, and I liked Wo Long a lot. So it's like a lot of that stuff that's feeding into my interest in this.
Yeah, it is funny to look at this. Like, it's a lot of people making Assassin's Creed comparisons. It's some weird fusion of Assassin's Creed and Ghost of Tsushima, which I guess is already pretty Assassin's Creed in a lot of ways as well. But then with like Team Ninja's experience in the Soulsborne genre, it's like, are they going to be pulling a little bit from Elden Ring for just having an open world, but an open world with exceptionally difficult combat? Like, I think that's like
tough.
Yeah, it does seem like that's a cool needle to thread. Just, hey, Elden Ring fans, come over here.
I don't know if it's the open world did not seem particularly Elden Ring style open to me.
Yeah.
It looked much more kind of a traditional open world thing, which isn't bad, but it like, I think that's what looked more Assassin's Creed to me. Is my guess is we are going to meet NPCs who will give us quest lines and we'll do those quests.
Yeah, there's one shot that really grabbed my interest where you have like some wild wooden wingsuit thing here and you can pop it out and then land on a horse. It's very silly. But there's one shot of him like popping it out. What's that?
Zelda.
I guess that, you know what? Yeah, everything's Zelda.
I mean, it's fun every time. Like, I'll take it every time.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
But like there's one shot of him flying out over the water and then like floating over to an island. I was like, okay, like a little emphasis on exploration here. I'm more intrigued by that than just kind of another bloody battle situation here from Team Ninja. But I'm curious to see how it all comes together. It's cool to see Sony pushing it in a big way here.
Yeah, I do think Rise of Ronin looked a little bit more unique in its identity than it has in previous trailers.
Sure.
Because while I think the Ghost comparison is very apt in the stances, like the kind of the way you actually like fight to a degree, I felt like this broke out a little bit more, specifically with the focus on traversal, the multi-use of the grappling hook.
Yep.
Like it looks like it's going to be a pretty solid game, but I think because of the difficulty, I just might not be interested in necessarily. Kind of much like Wolong, where I'm like, it's cool, it looks good, but I think I'm going to bounce.
Yeah.
And the games are like, you know, if you go by the historical period of Ghost of Tsushima, like they are 500 years apart. Like it's a significant difference. So it's like, yeah, you're samurai, you're using swords, but like this game's emphasis on like guns and little gadgets and like, honestly, I think this is kind of a more interesting historical time period because it is the eras crashing into each other in the same way that like a Dragon Ishin was, where it's like samurais are kind of becoming redundant because everyone can have a gun, and so you don't need these people who are like trained to be perfect fighters anymore.
Yeah. Also, they showed a new Dragon's Dogma trailer and Dragon's Dogma 2, and I think it looked freaking awesome too. I'm very intrigued about that thing when it comes out, which is pretty damn soon here. That's March 22nd for Dragon's Dogma 2. Hey, a lot of good stuff. Curious to hear everybody's thoughts and everything they revealed here for the big state of play. Kyle, I have a question for thee.
Yes.
Can you solve my riddle? The question is, do you know how this whole thing operates? Please.
Puppets and missing babies?
That's right. .com, everybody. Patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Go there, find a tier that works for you, find something that's sustainable for you, and that keeps us sustainable on this end. So please go unlock a benefit over there. We're asking you to at least just check it out. Check out the $2 tier, whatever works for you. There's a benefit there for you. I swear it. And of course, thank you to some of our bigger supporters. I'm talking about folks like HelloFresh. Kyle, first thing I know about you, you love Prince of Persia. Second thing I know about you, you love fresh food in your fridge.
That's right. That's me.
Okay.
That's my Twitter profile. Loves Prince of Persia, loves fresh food.
Well, there we go. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and it is affordable. And of course, that is why it's America's #1 meal kit. You know what sucks, Jacob? It's nasty.
What sucks?
Let me tell you what sucks and is nasty. Planning meals. That idea was like, oh, what are we making this night? Do we have those ingredients? Imagine if you just had a bunch of bags delivered right to your doorstep, and then you crack it open, all the ingredients right there, pre-portioned, ready to cook. But you're not a baby. Like, you're a cool adult that can cook their meal, but you just want a little nudge and help, and they give you the exact ingredients with the exact amount that you need to help you along the way. So if you're not a big, fat, stupid baby, check out HelloFresh, everybody. Whether you're trying to save money, eat better, or stress less, HelloFresh is here to help you do all three. Say hello to your most delicious year yet with fresh ingredients and chef-crafted recipes at a price you'll like, delivered right to your door. Go to HelloFresh.com/MinnMaxFree and use the code MinnMaxFree for free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/MinnMaxFree with code MinnMaxFree. And of course, thank you to our dear friends at I Am 8-Bit. They want everybody to know this week about Day of the Devs. Everybody, Day of the Devs is now a 501c3. This is their video game event where they get a bunch of indie developers together to show off their games, and it has shifted to becoming a 501c3, a nonprofit. It's probably a cleaner way of saying that. And so they're looking for your help. They're currently accepting donations through February 29th, and all the proceeds go towards covering costs for the various events throughout the year, including the one happening this March. So there's a couple different donation tiers you can check out there. Any amount helps to keep Day of the Devs around now that it's gone full nonprofit. So you can go to dayofthedevs.com for even more info about how that works. And I'm 8-Bit's very involved with Day of the Devs, founding members, of course, and so you can help support them by doing that. And they help support us, of course, on the MinnMax Show by giving a prize to members of the community. Whoever has the best question submitted over there on Patreon each and every week gets a prize thanks to I Am 8-Bit. This week, whoever's the best question wins the Bear and Breakfast double vinyl soundtrack. The double vinyl for the Bear and Breakfast video game. I Am 8-Bit will send that to you if you have the best question here today on the MinnMax Show. And you can check out I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store and use the promo code LeapFrogYear. LeapFrogYear to get 10% off of everything under $100. I mean, that's all we could possibly say about Day of the Devs. I can't imagine saying anything else about it. So on that note, Kyle, you want to bow out, dude?
Yeah, I'm gonna clap. It's been a while since I clapped. You ready? Here I go.
So ready. Enjoy. Bye. Tim Schafer, everybody. Welcome to the big show.
Yeah. That was a little bit of an adjustment, but I feel better now.
Good. Yeah, thank God for getting Kyle out of here. Hey, thanks for being here, man. What brings you around these parts?
Thanks for having me. Just got to want to come by and chit chat and talk about stuff and, hawk my wares.
Can we talk about Psych Odyssey for another 3 hours? Is that okay with you?
Oh my God, yeah, we're still talking about that.
Sorry. Yeah, we're kind of still obsessed. And look, this isn't just trying to kiss your ass too much, but we did have our awards thing at the end of the year last year, and the big debate was, we talked about the greatest work of art in 2023, and Psych Odyssey took it. Beat Barbie, beat everything else.
That's great, because I'm not the creator of it. I'm just merely the victim of it. But that's great for two-player productions. They really deserve that.
Yeah. By the way, you're on, I know you already met off stage, but pretend you didn't. You're on with Jacob Geller and Jenna Garcia.
Hello.
Good to meet you.
Yeah. Tim, Day of the Devs, something we've plugged on the podcast before. We've been working with I Am 8-Bit for years now, but you wanted to jump on to talk about the future of Day of the Devs?
Yeah, that is something I would love to talk about just because it had a big news item happen, which is that it's now officially, for those of you who don't know, Day of the Devs is a games festival, like a mostly independent games festival that we started putting on a decade ago, because there's so many indie games coming out. We really wanted to share what we thought the best ones were. We put together this curation committee and we highlighted the games and we made it all free. And so it's a free show to come to. It's all ages in San Francisco. It's very positive. It has music and food and stuff. It's very fun. But it came out of Double Fine, and we work with I Am 8-Bit to put on this bigger and bigger show every year. And things get more complicated as things become real. And this is a real show now, and it's mostly run by funded by sponsors. So we're like, this should really be a nonprofit. This is really structured like a nonprofit, and it's platform agnostic. It's not really like a business empire building type thing. So we took the plunge to actually make it an official, actual nonprofit, and it's 100% independent. It's not owned by Double Fine anymore. It's just its own thing now with the board of directors and everything. And so we just started a fundraising page. dayofthedevs.com is the website if you want to go. There's tiers. You can there's a great bundle. Psychonauts 2 is in the bundle, first time it's ever been bundled. But a lot of the old games starting with Broken Age, the first game we had in Day of the Devs, and a lot of games from Day of the Devs are in. It's a really great bundle if you want to become a supporter of this thing, which is it's really a nice shot. If you've attended, you must have attended.
I haven't yet. Janet went not too long ago.
Yeah.
Right?
You did.
You had the one in LA, and I attended that, and it's super fun. I mean, I had a blast and a half playing they had a lot of funky IRL games. There's the one where you play the Joy-Con, the toilet paper, and then
you get hit by a self-driving car.
I didn't get hit by the car, but I did give them my data. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one thing I've really liked about Day of the Devs, structurally, is I think it has one of the strongest curatorial feels. And I think the tosses with the developers are some of the most personable takes on the kind of talking head formats. So yeah, definitely a fan.
That's nice. Yeah, we have people from all over the industry at different companies to try and make sure everybody's represented and doesn't favor one platform or anything like that. And the lead curator is Greg Rice, who you all met probably at some point. And he's been just loving supporting indie games his whole career. So it really feels like a very handcrafted show. So anyway, that was big news for us. For now, it's a nonprofit, and we're fundraising. So there you go.
Is it a matter of if you don't hit the goal, the event is canceled and indie games are no longer coming out, or what's the goal here for fundraising?
It's on the page. It's whole. There's many shows during the year. We have two big live shows now. So we have the San Francisco show, which has moved to be closer to GDC, the Sunday before GDC.
Yeah.
So more people will be in town to be able to go to that. And then the one in LA is during the Game Awards, near the Game Awards. So people are in town for that. And then there's also the Summer Games Fest edition, which is a digital showcase. So paying for all of those does have a big goal, but we will continue to fundraise. It's not like a Kickstarter with a big end date where it's now or never, but we keep fundraising because we'll still go to like companies and be like, hey, wouldn't you like to sign a big old check and put your logo on this banner and be a supporter? So all different tiers for individuals too. And you can get socks. Let me point that out. If you bid at the as you say about your Patreon, a certain Patreon level. If you bid at a certain level, there's socks in it for you.
Okay, that's pretty good. Not too bad. So Tim, the way this works is we read off a bunch of community questions, and the number one community question, you have to remember which one made the show better. Objectively, this question made the show better. Remember which one is the best, and then they win a prize from our friends at I'm8bit. So remember dearly. Okay, Graham Walker writes in with a hard-hitting one if you're sitting down, Tim.
Okay.
Tim, particularly, as a massive Atari fan over the years, even making an appearance on Atari 50, what do you consider to be the best Atari game of all time?
That's interesting. Look, can you see on my camera? This is my Atari setup right here. You can barely those are all Atari carts.
Perfect.
And there's my little heavy sixer down there.
All right, that's for later.
I'm happen to be playing Time Pilot right now, so there you go.
Time Pilot.
Anyway, nerdy old man game talk. Right? I love on the Atari 2600. I like Hero, Hero.
Okay.
Kind of cave exploration rescue game, and Frostbite, and Enduro. And those are some of my favorites. But Spider Fighter might be my favorite.
Okay.
So many great games. But Adventure, I think Adventure was the one that went out in the day. Those are all recent discoveries, believe it or not. But like when I was a kid, the Adventure cartridge by Warren Rubber, that really probably got me into like, I'm going to make adventure games where you run around and explore rooms and stuff. Because I got that home and I started playing without reading the instructions, and I was so lost and confused, and I just love that feeling. And I was like, I'm going to make games that people feel lost and confused in.
That's perfect. And now it's just got like a comfort food for you to go back and play those old games?
Yeah. I mean, I just, it's a COVID thing. I think during quarantine, we all got into some little hobby, and you had like your eBay save search for like, I never did play that one game, and like I'm gonna so I got way into it. Now they sit there, they're actually like Facebook groups where people have high score contests with these old games, and I'm like, I'm posting my score on that. I gotta do my practice this week, so I can
that does seem
beat
fun.
Everyone at Time Pilot.
Have you seen like Atari's like reimagining some of their old games, or making like a new Lunar Lander? Lunar Lander Beyond from like the team that made Chris Tales, which is that RPG from a couple years ago that was good. So it's like they're getting good teams to make new versions of old Atari stuff, which is kind of cool.
It's an interesting thing because I think for a lot of people my age, like Atari has a special place, right? But it's like, could it ever mean that again? It's kind of a tricky problem, like because some things can't ever mean what they meant. Even like your favorite band from 30 years ago gets back together. It's like, can they really like make you feel like that you felt because you discovered it then? You were a different person then, and so it's a tricky situation. But now they have Mike Micah on their side.
Yeah,
so I feel like they could do anything. Mike's the best. So I figure if anyone's gonna figure that out, it's Mike.
Yeah, it's true. Did you ever play Zybots in the arcade?
I feel like they had that on the Atari Lynx.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just found it on arcade recently. Like that game blew my mind. It's kind of
Is that the one you pop down a hallway like Ultima?
Yep. It's like a weird sci-fi version of Gauntlet, but it's like third person and co-op. Yeah, it's the best co-op shooter until Gears of War came along, I think. Yeah, but that game was.
I feel like we're embarrassing ourselves in front of the young people. I feel really self-conscious talking about this stuff in front. Mostly because at work, people are always telling me how old I am because I make a reference to things that they're like, what are you talking about? Zybots, what are you talking? Why are you talking about Zybots? No one can. Anyway, see what they've done to me? I gotta hang out with older people.
Graham Walker also wrote in to say, also, Tim, on top of the Atari stuff, could you please bring Psychonauts to Switch?
Let me put that on my list. I'll put that on my list of things to do.
Okay, done.
But like super easy, right? You just like hit the switch button.
There's a toggle, I think, in the engine that you just enable which platforms, and you just turn on the switch one.
Peter,
never say never.
Never say never. You heard it. Peter Gallagher writes in. They say, hey, I saw a porcupine while skiing in Vermont this weekend. What are the coolest animals you've ever seen in the wild?
That's good luck, right?
I think so.
Porcupine. Yeah.
If it crosses
really
the path.
Bad when you're falling.
That's true. Very comedic as well if you're falling into
I don't go out into the wild. I've been like whale watching. I've seen whales.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But, I live in the city. I think the coolest thing is like driving home at midnight or 2 a.m. and you're all by yourself on the road and a coyote walks across the street. You're what's that? Ooh, that feels weird in the city to see a coyote.
Yeah, that's good.
You don't, and they howl. You hear them howling out the window too.
Oh, that's the best. You don't get out there camping very often?
last time I camped with my daughter's school, and I was like, I'm so into shopping for camping gear. Like, I love being in sports basement or whatever and like looking at tents. It's like, oh, this stuff is so cool. And then you buy it and you get in it and you're going to sleep and it's nighttime and you're laying on the ground on a hill kind of, and you're like, I have a bed. Like, I have a bed in a house. I could be there. I could be sleeping inside. Why am I laying on the ground out here? This is so weird. So a lot, like, in theory, I love it. Yeah, I love it. I was a Boy Scout and I love it, but in practice, like, it's a reason we have houses.
Yeah.
Ben, were you a Boy Scout?
No, I grew up in the woods, but I rejected the system. I didn't become a Boy Scout.
I am an Eagle Scout because I think you stay it forever once you get it.
That's like the plan.
Yeah, and that means I fully endorse all of the BSA's positions.
All right, way to go! Cool.
No, twist.
I did when I was a Boy Scout. I saw baby bears like out in the woods, just like while we were hiking, and we were like, "Oh, cool! Oh, wait, not cool," because like seeing baby bears means like mama bear is very dangerous. But that was neat. And then once at college, I saw a possum on campus, and I took a picture of it and I posted it to the like overheard at college Facebook page. Yeah. And it was like the most popular thing I ever did online at college. People were like, "There's a possum on campus."
Who posted that? That guy rules too. Now that I think about it.
That's so
what was your final Eagle Scout project?
I built a series of compost boxes for an elementary school that are still there, I'm pretty sure.
They held up to all the funky stuff that goes on in compost boxes. That's amazing.
That's right. They've been composting actively.
helping out school.
No, Tim, I think you nailed it early on. Where I was thinking about this question a lot about the coolest animals. Yeah, I went to Alaska for my honeymoon and seeing like killer whales in the wild, like swimming next to the boats. Like, I don't think you can top a whale. I think it's just the coolest creature on Earth. Although I was in Puerto Rico recently, and there are iguanas everywhere, and I really love lizards, and I loved it. And like, I remember one time we were just like hanging out, watching the sunset, and this group next to us just started screaming like wild. And I was like, "What is going on?" And I look over there, it was just like an iguana was crawling next to him. And I was so mad at them. Like, you should be screaming in delight. Like, you're scared of this iguana. Like, this is a gift from God.
You scream in delight. You scream in delight right now.
Shift that pitch, ma'am.
I love how Jacob's cat knows we're talking about animals. Like, oh, I gotta stand
this
up.
Is the coolest animal we've ever seen.
No doubt.
Pretty good one. Little nose, little white nose. Look at that.
Paulo, by the way, I'm not trying to out Jacob too much here, but he's a big fan of you, Tim Schafer. So you saying that his cat's a good one, I think means a lot to him on the inside, just so you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Paulo writes
I'll save this clip from the podcast.
If the cat's not named Raz, I don't care.
Cat's name is Fred.
Is it?
We have a Fred Bonaparte. You should say it's Fred Bonaparte.
It's a Fred Bonaparte.
Trash cat.
Paulo writes in, they say, if you were given the necessary funding and license to turn an IP of any type into a board game, what IP do you think you'd be looking at? Can I take Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or is that just Candyland already? But actually, like, managing the factory would be kind of cool.
Or it'd just be like a really deadly version of Candyland. Because Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you have like deaths.
No, you're right. Yeah, so it'd be Candyland, but with permadeath.
I don't think they died. I think they just got stretched and like disfigured for life. Turned into
they turned into a blueberry and then got like squeezed
and they got drained.
Out.
Yeah, they got drained. So they're never the same again, but they're alive.
No, I immediately thought of like Mad Max, but I feel like that's been really ripe. And Tim, I can credit some of this to you, but you were in the Kickstarter launch video for Dust Biters, that 2-player card game that I really, really love. And like between that and Thunder Road Vendetta, which is a game I've been playing as well, that's very... Do you know that one too, Tim?
I got the Ultimate Chrome edition.
Jeez, a Chrome man.
Yeah.
Like those two are so good. I feel like, all right, you can't do Mad Max better than these two tabletop games. Just are different versions of the theme, and they both knock it out of the park.
Yeah. I agree. I don't like, questions about IP. I'm like, make something up new. Come on.
Yeah.
Because that's our job. Make up new things.
Yeah. Would Double Fine ever make a tabletop game? There has to be a lot of fans in this.
We get approached by that a lot, especially board games have been booming the last few years. And part of me is like, because I'm also super into board games. We have a big board game library at work, and I'm like, no one's doing it but me. But I don't have time to do it. And actually, I had some ideas for board games, and I tried to put them together, and they're much harder than video games. I mean, video games, you can get pretty far with presentation and like sucking people into a world, and like mechanics, you can kind of tweak it. But like if player just doesn't have a way of getting that card you need them to have, like I don't know how you debug those things, and how do you test them? I don't know. I thought they were hard. I have a lot of respect for board game designers.
Yeah. Do you have an idea, a notebook that's filled with potential board game designs though?
Yeah, more like just little moments in the board game, a little setup for one tiny part of it. I'm like, I don't know what to do with the rest of this. I don't know.
Right. Oh, that's fun.
Do you have a favorite board game? Or like some go-to ones?
Yeah, I mean, I got into it playing with my when my daughter was starting it. She joined the chess club, and I was like, "Oh, I'll play chess with you." And I was like, "Chess! I forgot how boring this game is." And so I just started playing like Sushi Go and stuff like that. So I love playing kind of like family, like lighter games. Like there's a pirate racing one called Jamaica that I love playing, and there's a game called Broom Service, which is about witches delivering things.
That's good.
And I love Thunder Road. That has been a recent one that I really like. There's this really obscure, weird black metal one called Cave Evil that's pre-printing right now. But it's just really strange, like dudes on a map, all underground, lich, like necromancer type black. All the art looks like it was drawn by your friend in high school that draws metal logos on your book covers. Like Cave Evil, that's a good one. Nice. I love anything by Reiner Knizia, and I love there's, let's see, I like little light card games like Nana. Have you ever played Nana?
No.
From from Japan. These little simple like card games. Hard to pick my favorite though. I can talk about board games all day. I love Arboretum and Parade, and we just played Five Tribes the other night. That's a good one.
There you go. It's too much.
It's too many.
Yeah, speaking of metal here, Tom Rickard wrote in. They say, "Hey folks," and "Hey Tim Schafer. Tim, I want to say thank you for Brutal Legend. It introduced me to metal at a very young age, and also introduced me to the concept of comedy in video games instead of just TVs and movies." Well, that's impressive.
Mission accomplished. Look at that.
How hard was it to license all the songs for Brutal Legend soundtrack? It seems like a logistical nightmare.
I mean, for me personally, it was pretty easy because that was the best example of like what a publisher can do for you. Because we were working with EA.
Yeah.
And they have a group that does that. They just have a group of people because they license so much music for all their sports games and racing games, and like they just have this group of people sit around. You just give them your list of music, and they hunt it down, and they get all these really strong contracts that have lasted all these years because we did our PC version and different versions of it, and it was amazing because we have it was back in the days like paper documents, so you have a paper, like it was 107 songs in that game. And it was just our wish list that we just gave them. We kept adding to it because they're like, yeah, sure. And we kept adding to it. And we have the docs now. And for some of it, I forget what it is, but there's the master rights and there's performance and songwriting, different rights. And for one of them, you have to get every member of the band or everyone who had songwriting credits on it. So I have this one doc that has Tommy Lee and everyone from Motley Crue signed it. This is a really cool collection of documents.
This document should be on the mantle.
If the publisher was doing it, did you get an idea of like, this is really expensive, like to have this song in it is going to be like, you can have 10 of them for one of this one.
Yeah, some of them, that's why some groups, like some people asked for like most favored nation status, so that means like whatever anybody else gets, if it's better than what they get, they also get it. So like they get the best, whatever the best deal is you give to anybody, give it to me. That's like super lazy. We had one person like that because we have to have this guy in there. And then we tried to get AC/DC, and they wanted like a lot for every song. We're like, well, maybe we could just do one song, but no, we have to give it to that other guy too.
Oh, that's interesting.
It does add up. It doesn't for like your normal the rank and file like songs in there were like pretty affordable for what they were, and then there's just some superstars who were like, I want your best deal, and some of them were pretty cutthroat about it. So it was interesting.
There's a bit on one of the commentaries on the TV show Community where they talk about like, we were really cheap on a lot of scenes in this episode, but that meant we got to use Roxanne. And it was like Roxanne was like a lot of the episode's budget was just licensing that song and being able to use it.
You gotta do it.
Yeah.
I know it's a sensitive topic for you, but there was that story back when Activision was going to publish Brutal Legend, correct me if I'm wrong, where there was a mention of like, maybe we can turn this into a licensed Guitar Hero game. And now it's weird because you both are under the same roof, right? Like with Microsoft?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't hear a question in there.
It's not. Just, isn't that interesting?
Like, it's weird, right? Question mark?
I think that's so long ago. I don't think it occurred to anyone to think that was weird until you did. But okay. I think that, yeah, sure, if you think about it in the right way, I don't think it's that weird.
Hey, more people wrote in with real questions. An actual sad taco wrote in, and they said, perhaps it's my laughs at jingling keys baby brain, but I've been hooked on watching streamer and YouTube reactions to some of my favorite scenes in video games the past couple weeks, like Red Dead Redemption 2. It's a fun, dumb way to relive some moments or feelings. Do any of you have a favorite scene or moments in a game that you love to see others experience for the first time? I've been on a big Final Fantasy VII kick recently. And so I went back, I know it's weird, right? And so I went back and just watched a compilation of everybody reacting to the Honeybee Inn sequence from Remake, where Cloud dresses up and dances in the dress, and like just seeing streamers experience that for the first time was perfect. And then getting to relive, my favorite thing is if you're failing the QuickTime event as Cloud, as he's doing like the world's most perfect dance, then it just cuts to Aerith in the crowd and she's like really enthusiastic. And then if you start failing it, she's like, hey, like trying to be supportive, but just like half-assedly clapping. It's beautiful.
Whenever anyone in my life is playing Disco Elysium, I like make them give me a play-by-play of just like, what are you doing now? What did your character do? Do you know your name yet? But there's like a potential encounter at the end of that game that is like arguably the game's like point to like, it's kind of like it's all been leading up to this, but it's also missable. And so like whenever people are near there, I'm like, please tell me. I hope you did. I just kind of like I try to nudge them in directions before that of like, make sure you do the side quest because it might pay off. And I really want to hear them get it.
Tim, is there a moment from your games that you like scrub through to try and watch people react to or anything?
I mean, there's a big twist in the middle of Broken Age, which is super fun to watch.
Oh yeah,
people see that just because we like it's so. I do like to put big reveals in games are fun, but if anyone guesses them in advance, it's just all lost. And just so that one usually like people actually can get surprised by, which is always nice. Like I played like showing movies to my daughter, and I watched Sixth Sense, and she leaned over when it started and goes, is that guy? And she totally guessed the end of the game, like right after it started. And I was like, oh, great. It's like, what are you talking about? She's no twist for her in that one.
Sean Mills writes in and says, hey, Tim, thank you for making my childhood full of pirate adventures and grog. Did you play Return to Monkey Island, and what did you think of it?
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet. You know, the games, you start games, and then another one comes out, and then you have to go back.
So I've heard.
So it's still on my list. Yeah. It's so, I started, it was beautiful, it was funny, it was great to see that group of people come back together and work on it. And I think, Rex's art is really pretty, and it was funny, and so it was nice to see, and I love to hear Peter's music and stuff, so.
Is it a weird one emotionally to jump into? Because like you could pick up and play any game for an hour, but if you play that one, it's going to be a lot of interpersonal memories, and just, it's a lot. And positive, I'd imagine, but still like a lot for your brain to process to play it, right?
Yeah, it was so long ago, like 1990 was a long time ago, let me tell you. And someone here is like, I wasn't born yet, so it brings back a lot of strange memories. Yeah. Not strange memories, good memories.
Okay. Yeah. For what it's worth, the ending of that game I think is freaking awesome. Hey, Tim, you should see the end of Return to Monkey Island. It's really good. Okay. Ian Miller writes in. They say, hey, everybody. A couple days ago, I made an observation to my girlfriend that people take the moon for granted. Without looking at the sky, there's no way a layman can tell where it is in the sky or what phase it's in. Whatever state the moon is in, we all accept it at face value. This quickly devolved into how long...
Phase value.
How long do you think it would take you to notice if the moon completely disappeared? You get no outside input, no hysteria in the news, no corroborating with friends and family. How long do you legitimately think it would take you to realize that the moon was gone personally?
Like a week.
1 week?
I mean, it is gone sometimes. A lot of times you look up, it's not there.
Right.
So you're like, oh, it's just not there. And it's like, wait, when was the last time I saw the moon?
I think I would like know where I put notice. I would notice after 3 days, but I would not jump to the moon has disappeared.
That's the other thing. If no one else thinks the moon is gone, I would
someone would have said something.
Exactly. I would probably think, wow, the environment's finally fully going to hell. You know what I mean? Because I imagine
is the moon part of the environment?
I'm not a moonologist, but I imagine bad things happen if the moon disappeared or didn't explode. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Like, just like, I'm out of here.
But yeah, it's like we would notice because there'd be a tsunami immediately.
But if no one's like, oh, by the way, the moon's gone, why would I just jump to the moon is gone? You know what I mean? So I think it would take a while in that sense. Because why would that be my first thing?
If your friends were all in the conspiracy, if they're all like, don't let Janet know the moon's gone.
Yeah, the news isn't talking about it. It's not on my For You page. Like, why would I assume?
I can see the moon from my house. It's fine. It looks good. Yeah. It's just behind a building.
If you snap your fingers and the moon disappeared, would there be a tidal wave on every shore of the ocean at the same time? Because the moon's just like tugging in a direction one at a time, right? So it would just be like a plop, like spreading out?
It would have to slowly ease away.
Okay. Make a Jetson sound as it went, I think. Yeah. Okay. Scientists, write in, please.
Moonologists.
Only. Captain Cobblepot writes in and says, hello, Tim. Welcome to MinnMax again. And congratulations on Day of the Devs officially becoming a 501c3. Does it feel bittersweet to not have to hunt for a publisher or run a crowdfunding campaign on the next Double Fine title?
Oh, there's nothing. I don't miss pitching to publishers at all. That's that's like the worst part of the job. Is like, here's this thing. My whole company's future depends on it. Please like it. And that's a grueling experience. Especially most games that we pitched. You know, I mean, of course, the money is always in the last place you look because you stop looking afterwards. But it always like a lot of people pass on a game before it gets picked up, and so it's really. You're always counting the money in the bank, and you're like, oh gosh, here. So I don't miss that at all. Yeah. So nothing bittersweet about that. I do, no, I don't miss anything about that.
It's just sweet.
It's just sweet.
Sweet.
It's all the sweet, none of the bitter.
Is this the longest gap Double Fine's ever had between releases?
No, I mean, our first game took 5 years to make. Our second game took 5 years to make. And
yeah, you know what? That's a stupid question. Strike that one from the record.
No, you're right. Because then we started making smaller games, and there were years where we shipped like 3 things in 1 year, and then we all different sizes, and then we, in between. So it is I'm working on new and secret things, and we have other projects going on led by other people, and so soon they'll start coming.
There we go.
But yeah. Soon they'll come.
Okay.
No, go on. No.
Travis in Fargo writes in, who's the best movie villain of all time?
You guys answer first.
Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men?
Ben, that was my answer. that was.
Sorry, I lay claim.
He name immediately just. It's like, I think it's like that movie is so kind of weird and poetic and non-traditional in a lot of ways, and the fact that you still have like this guy who is so evil he's like memed frequently, I think speaks to the strength of like how iconic he is.
Memeable levels of evil. You really have to go above and beyond.
Also, it's like to make Javier Bardem that ugly with that haircut, a challenging thing to do. An incredibly attractive man.
They did it. They certainly did it. Did you hear about the Coen brothers getting back together and like the little snippet?
Did they split up?
Yeah, because they worked on, God, I forget. Ethan made, I don't think it's come yet.
Cowboy thing together?
So that was the last movie they worked on together, yeah. And then Joel made Macbeth for Apple. He directed that one. And then Ethan was working on some other gaming movie and collaborating with somebody else. But they got back together, and Ethan said that their next movie is going to be extremely bloody. And that if you liked Blood Simple, it's kind of a going back to that era, which is
basics.
Interesting. Yeah.
This is what happens. This is why we went back to Psychonauts, because like you spend a lot of time trying different things, and you're like, remember all that love we got for that first thing we made? Let's go back to that. Super bloody. I didn't know they had. I never occurred to me that they just thought they had slowed down their movie making, but I didn't know the Uncut Gems brothers broke up. Those guys are like. I don't know if
I don't know why anyone let them date, but
it's uncomfortable. That's better than the plunge.
Noah Cross from Chinatown. That's a good villain.
Okay, Chinatown. Yeah.
Bad. That guy was bad.
Love
news.
It. Janet, you got one?
Nah, what Joker?
From the second Batman movie? It's like so vanilla. Yeah, Heath Ledger's Joker.
Little known villain.
Own it.
Just the second one. There's people in chat saying he's not actually a villain. He's actually misunderstood.
But that's why he's interesting. No, but I don't think anything super poignant comes to mind. But admittedly, I feel like I just don't watch that many movies, and I don't know. I feel like a lot of stuff I've been watching recently has been like not direct villains either, kind of thing. Like I just watched Grave of the Fireflies for the first time.
Ooh.
Like You know, it's like, I don't know.
The
like,
shadow of nuclear war, the greatest villain ever put
exactly,
on
a
film.
conceptual villain. Also, I knew that movie was sad. It was the saddest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
That's why I've never watched it.
You should. Okay, but what can you handle?
People say like this is the saddest thing. You'll never be this sad before.
Are you into like the sad though? Like, do you?
I mean, I don't. I mean, just everyone says it's so sad.
How into sad are you though?
I mean, what's a good sad? I'll have to watch it eventually. It's supposed to be good.
It's amazing, but it is very like I watched it. See, that's the sick thing, Crowboy. I didn't end up crying during it. I don't know. Nothing came out, but it was. I knew it'd be sad. Everyone's like, "This is the saddest thing ever." And I'm like, "Okay, relax." Like I was an English major. It's fine. No, it was incredibly sad. It was so sad. 30 minutes in, I looked at the clock and I said, "Oh my God, we have so much left." And then I finished the movie, and genuinely, I turned to my partner and I'm like, I feel bad forever complaining about literally anything in my life.
That's it.
And I was just like, you know what? My life's actually been really great. Sorry I ever complained. But it's very beautiful and it's very nice.
No, I'm with you. I'm a stupid baby that doesn't like to watch anything too sad. Like, I'm not really into horror movies in a big way. But then every time I go to my way, I feel like I really enjoy them. And this isn't a horror movie, but it's close enough. But have you guys seen that Society of the Snow movie on Netflix?
Ooh, no.
Is that a snow zombie movie?
No, it's the Miracle in the Andes story. So it's like another adaptation of Alive. If you remember that story.
Alive. I've seen the one that came out in the 90s.
Yep, that was Alive, I think. That was 93 for that one. But again, it's like, God, I don't want to watch a movie about a team that crashes in the Andes and they have to eat each other to survive. It's so brutal. But that all being said, like by the end of that movie, it's like, this movie has made me feel better about life than most media I consume, like just for cherishing everything you got. And I know this is weird to say, for a movie where they, eat human meat off of rib cages, but one of the sweetest movies I've seen in a long time. Like when literally the point of the movie is people just being like, hey, I will literally sacrifice my body so that you can have the energy to try and hike out of here and save everybody. Like it's awesome. It's really, really good. It's from J.A. Bayona, who directed it. Spanish filmmaker, but he directed like The Orphanage and your favorite film, Jacob, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. So.
Oh yeah.
The real villains are conceptual.
That's right.
I think I should make a movie about eating people. That's what I thought.
I have a similar thing though with horror movies. Like I love being scared. I love scary movies and spooky movies, but sometimes horror movies are just it's too sad because it's sad when people die. I get too like, oh, that's sad. That person, like someone loved that when it was a baby. That person, someone changed that baby's diaper and now it's dead. Like I just think it's so sad. But you're supposed to like laugh, like especially like in a Rob Zombie movie, you're supposed to be like, and I just feel like a disconnect with this. But
No. I have to remind myself they're not real. Like it's like, oh, it's okay. Like everyone's okay. It's just a story.
Yeah, there were actors laughing on set.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, they were having fun.
You're gonna say something, Tim?
Nope.
Okay.
That's enough about horror movies. No.
Luca Alberti writes in. They say, hello, Tim and crew. Big fan of the Psych Odyssey documentary. Recently, because of, is that weird, Tim, when people say, I really love that documentary more than I really love your games? Are you used to that at this point?
I did not hear them say that. You added that part. They said I love the documentary. You added more than the games.
I'm saying when they compliment one
addition.
thing over the other, that seems unnecessary. Anyways, Luca clearly writes in saying, I love the documentary. Recently, because of Super Mario Brothers Wonder and the movie The Boy and the Heron from Miyazaki, I've been thinking about creatives passing the torch to new generations. Seeing the documentary, it feels like Tim's writing is a massive creative endeavor, and I'm now questioning what his philosophy is about who, if anyone, to pass the baton to. Is he going to actively look for quirky writers, or is the hope that his craft will influence others?
That's an interesting question. I mean, that's something I probably need to work on more because I did get a lot of great opportunities when I started out. When Ron let Dave and I write dialogue for Monkey Island, it's like we had so much free reign that we got to learn how to do it. But I've always been very controlling about the writing. It's kind of why I started my own company, started my own projects. It's like I think every word of this I should be able to control. And it's not that I think I'm better than anybody else. It's just that I think I have this thing of I think this has to go exactly like this. It's just a weird, like a mental thing. And so going from there to like, how do you still create opportunities for others? Usually I've done that with other projects. Like when Lee runs a project or Costume Quest or something, other people have done the writing for those games. So it's more just like my own games and kind of, I don't know, it's territorial. Just like, nope, this is how I shape things, is with every word being written by me.
Yeah.
But I think if I know from the beginning that it's going to be more collaborative, I can, it's all about people and like people who have similar sensibilities, or finding opportunities for them to try it out, and not have a giant thing like Psychonauts be the thing they try it with, It's like Psychonauts, doing a game like Psychonauts and then Psychonauts 2, like 20 years later, is like to get the tone exactly the same as the old game. I couldn't imagine doing it any other way except for being written exactly the same way by the same person. It's hard to. So, but with the new games, with new titles and stuff, it's much easier to give someone else a chance. But yeah, I do try. I think about how to give people the same opportunities that I had, which was a little sandbox, little playground to like write your own stuff. Because the way I started, the reason I had the ability to try weird things was that I thought, when we were writing Monkey Island, I thought they were going to get serious writers in to do all the like the piratey talk and have it be authentic to the Caribbean in that era or whatever. So Dave and I were just writing this like silly like talk and like kind of our contemporary speech. Guy Rush was like talking like we did and like joking around and being sarcastic and stuff. And Ron's like, no, this is the dialogue for the game. I was like, what? Like we already, oh my God. And just so, because I wasn't nervous about it, I wrote probably funnier stuff because I was just thinking this is all going to get thrown away. So it's that's an opportunity you want to give to someone else. I'll tell them.
You need to tell them.
I'm going to throw this away, so just go for it. And then I'm like, psych, I'm using it.
It's going to be weird though. Have you had instances where like other people in the studio write dialogue and you read it and you're like, oh, it feels like they're trying to do my voice because they're a Double Fine employee and they feel like they should, but it's not quite working and they should go in their own lane?
I don't know. I've never had that feeling. I mean, it's a very funny company. I think there's a lot of people, if you watch the documentary, which I don't know if you have been, but if you get the time to watch the documentary, it's like, I think everyone in the company is really funny. And so there's probably a lot of different voices that would be funny in different ways there.
Yeah. Did you see Boy in the Heron yet by chance?
I'm not trying to brag here. I saw it in Japan in opening week with no English subtitles. I happened to be in Tokyo for Bit Summit. Well, I was in Kyoto for Bit Summit, and then we're on the way back. We're in Tokyo, and like, oh my God, this is the last Miyazaki movie. I think it's not the last anymore, but like the last Miyazaki movie is opening this week in Tokyo. It's not going to have subtitles. Let's go watch it. And we just watched it. It was like, imagine watching that movie. It's all in Japanese. I don't speak Japanese, and we just like let it wash over us. It was like, it was amazing. And I felt like I understood it more, and then I just recently saw it with subtitles, and I was like, wait, I understand it much less now. Like I was like, what did that heron want? Why did the heron want to?
What are the parakeets doing now? Who are they?
When you don't know what's going on, you just kind of, it's more of an impressionistic. Like you're getting all the emotions, you're getting the feeling of all the scenes, so you fill in the gaps in ways that make sense. But then when you hear them talking, you're like, I mean, I still don't know what the heron's motivation. Why did the heron want the boy to come to the house? Why did he want to go in there? Who's he working for? Who's the heron working for? Was he working for the celestial guy, or was he just working for the boy? Was he just some part of the manifestation of the boy's feelings?
Yeah, I think he's just celestial.
I feel like he's just like, it's just like a little stinker. Like the heron just kind of seemed to be kind of a gremlin.
Yeah, he's very inspired by Dennis the Menace, I think.
The theme of passing the torch. But how'd that have to do with the Boy and the Heron? Oh, because this is the last Miyazaki movie.
Yeah. And the idea, like he tries to, he tells him like, oh, you could rebuild the tower, like the whole tower building metaphor and all that stuff. That was, I guess, the theme of the whole thing. Oh,
yeah, interesting. And Ghibli itself is like, you don't want someone to just make movies that seem just like Miyazaki, I guess, because it would be like an imitator. You want someone else with another strong vision to like take over.
The Juan One writes in to say, hello, MinnMax. So it looks like Spec Ops The Line got delisted, and the way that 2K wrote the statement, it looks like it's not coming back. So it looks like any plans for doing that for the Deepest Dive is now officially dead. Thoughts on Spec Ops The Line getting delisted? Jacob, I'm sorry. This is weird timing that we were just talking about it, and now suddenly, pulled from all stores.
Look, here's the thing. You can still get that game, and now I feel like there shouldn't be any ethical problems in doing so. When it's like, when it is actually commercially unavailable from any source. I'm not a lawmaker. I'm not like able to enforce these things one way or another, but like, hey man, you shouldn't feel bad about downloading it however you can now. Yeah.
It does suck.
It's just weird that they wouldn't give like a heads up. Like, hey, 2 months from now,
did it catch them by surprise? I don't understand.
I also don't.
They never explained why, did they?
Oh, they did. It's music. I think it's specifically the Jimi Hendrix song in it. They've got like the Star Spangled Banner.
I would expect it then to be just a temporary problem. Right? Yeah. Just patch that out.
I would hope so. Not. Yeah, maybe build up anticipation for like a remaster or something like that, and try and sync that up in some way. But who knows?
That would be a really weird game to get like a PS5 graphics, Spec Ops: The Line now, because it's like the whole bit of it was like, hey, look, it's a stupid third-person shooter. You love those. And then they like, surprised you by it being poignant. And now I feel like the whole marketing campaign would be like the game that changed the way we talk about military shooters.
Yeah, that would be the marketing campaign. You're right.
And I don't really want to see a higher def person killed by white phosphorus. I feel like I'm good on that forever.
Classic gentleman. Mike Lynch writes in and says, hey, Tim, despite looking incredibly comfortable on camera in the Psych Odyssey documentary, is there still a part of being filmed that you have to get used to?
Yeah, I mean, when it first started during Broken Age, I got really, I went on this huge diet. It's in the documentary too. Like I went on this juice diet and I lost like 30 pounds because I was like, oh, you never see yourself from a profile until someone does a documentary where they're following you around from room to room. And I was like, oh my God. And I ended up all these health problems because of the juice diet and stuff. So basically documentary took years off my life. But that part was hard. I'm always like, you guys, why are you filming me from that angle? But mostly for most of the work around the office, like it's not that I don't feel self-conscious being filmed, just having creative conversations, or we don't bring them in if we're doing performance reviews or anything that's touchy about someone's personal stuff. So yeah. I mostly do. We just don't. Those guys are really good at just disappearing. We were having a conversation. I told you that there's a thing where we went backstage at E3 for this announcement, and Microsoft, for some reason, they kicked out their own documentary crew. They had their own documentary crew, and they kicked them out, but they didn't notice ours. And so, you met him, like Paul Owens just sits in a corner. He's totally quiet, and he's still, and he doesn't move, and you just you don't know he's there. He could be in your room right now. Any of you. You could look in the corner right now. I'm not 100% sure he's not here. We're good.
So you don't feel any shift in your personality at this point when two-player just starts rolling? It's just seamless in your mind?
A little bit. What you have to watch for, and Penn Ward was on camera a little bit, and he's like, I gotta just, whenever the camera's on, I feel like I gotta do something funny, and like I gotta ham it up, and then there's a little bit of that. You feel like, I better make this worth their while, and yeah. Sometimes when Austin would like whip the camera towards me, I was like, whoa, what the?
And line. I gotta say something right now to make this shot awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard not to look at the camera all the time, like Jim from The Office. And be like,
Is two-player filming these days in the office? Are you all back in the office?
Well, I'm certainly back in the office. They still film regular stuff. I think they film stuff because they don't know exactly what the project's going to be. You know what I mean? Like they're filming stuff and they're like, what's the next story going to be? Is it going to be like about these little projects? Is it going to be about something else? And then it kind of, becomes what it becomes, and they're happy to have the footage. So they shoot everything just so they can have it.
Yeah. That's ambitious, yeah. Okay, this is maybe barking up the wrong tree. I know we talked about it a lot in the interview, talking about Psych Odyssey, but I remember a big theme of yours from that interview was like, we need to be more open. I don't understand why the game industry isn't more transparent. Why aren't more developers doing this? It's not that wild of a thing. There's nothing wrong with showing these conversations for how games are made. And I always just kept thinking about it and coming back to the same point of like, yeah, but nobody else is. I'm like, nobody else in the industry is doing it. So there is still some secret sauce happening in that studio for your push for transparency. And this is where I'm going out on a limb. But I watched Metallica's Some Kind of Monster recently. I was like, I wonder if this had an influence on Tim. I'm trying to think.
I did love that movie. That was a good movie.
Like I'm trying to think of the documentaries that you watch that really like ingrained in your brain. Like, oh, just showing raw footage almost of the process is the sweetest documentary, and I need to try and support that.
I mean, let's see. I mean, why? I mean, a lot of it was just that there was a documentary crew that came to us and said they wanted to do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I didn't think of it. It was their idea. And I just kind of went along with it because it was all tied together for this, like, let's this brand new thing, Kickstarter. let's try kickstarting a little game and we'll film it. And I thought it would be really short and fun and quick and easy, and it turned into something else. And people probably don't do it because it's not. They always see documentaries as marketing assets. It's always comes out of the marketing department. Like the making of some big game is always from the marketing department. So of course you're like, well, we ended up cutting that feature, and marketing's gonna be like, why would you advertise cutting a feature? So you can't really make a real documentary that way. They're still, fun to watch sometimes, but like, it's funny because if you watch a DVD, you'll see like a making of. I feel like maybe they get a little more honest just because people expect it to be this work of art and not treated like you're marketing a product as much. So, but it also costs money because eventually, at first they were funded by the Kickstarter, but then it took so long to get the game done. They're like, we're out of money. And so we had to take them on payroll. So we have these people on payroll. So that's another reason probably people don't do it. But they made themselves valuable by being kind of our AV department and helping with streaming and putting our trailers together, and whenever we need cool videos and edited together, which we do a lot of, they would do for us. So they made value out of that, and they made a documentary.
Nice. And the studio is getting built? I know they said they were working on building a studio in the office, right?
Yeah. It took a break over holidays, but it's just getting started soon. Who knows what we'll do in there. All
right. Looking forward to seeing it. That's it for community questions. But Jacob and Janet, do either of you have hot questions for Tim here?
These are really hot questions because we didn't even talk about doing this.
Hey, look.
So I don't think I do. You should let me know if you watch Grave of the Fireflies, though. If you can stomach it, please. Just outside the show, circle back to me.
Picture me with tears streaming down my face. Yo, Janet.
What kind of sick wreck is it? Yeah, it's very sweet but very sad.
Can you list your top 3 Miyazakis? Is that picking favorite children?
Yeah, I really love Spirited Away. I think that's a big one. I did like Boy and the Heron a lot. I like Totoro, obviously. I don't think these are really deep, shocking cuts for anybody. I like the raccoon testicle one. What's that one called?
Pom-Poko?
Yeah,
I think that one is not actually Miyazaki, which I learned because I was like, why do people talk about the one with the raccoons and the balls? And I was like, oh yeah, he didn't make that one.
A lot of fun. And Richard Horvitz does one voice in it, and he's the voice of Raz. So you're watching, and all of a sudden Raz talks, and you're like, what the hell is Raz doing in this? So in the English dub, and like Campagno, got his name them all. I love Castle in the Sky, and I want to go back and watch Mononoke, but I watched the dub version first. Some people really like the dub version, but I watched the dub version. Sometimes when I watch the English dub version, I feel like I'm not really liking this movie. I don't know why. Yeah. It feels strange. It feels off. Like the Dawson's Creek guy does the voice in Castles in the Sky.
He's in Castle in the Sky. He's the little
panting, boy. He's running. He's panting too much. I was like, I don't think that character pants that much.
Castle in the Sky is the one where they were like, American audiences, they don't like silence. We need to add more sounds. We need to add more music. And so it's like the American cut has like more bad soundtrack.
I sense that. But and then Nausicaa. I didn't even mention Nausicaa, but I read the manga.
And pop quiz, Tim, game of the year for 2023?
2023 is probably Tears of the Kingdom for me. I'm still playing it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people stopped. I feel like, unlike the first game that just kind of grabbed you and held on, like the second one has all these places you can exit from. I feel like the game kind of, the quest or something, but I got back into it in different ways throughout the year. Kept coming back to it. I like Cocoon. I like puzzle games. I like little puzzle games like Patrick's Parabox. And,
it's awesome for sure.
Probably still it's hard to beat Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Did you have the game developer feeling on Tears of the Kingdom of like, I don't know how they made this work in terms of like the mechanics and everything?
And just like, if you're going to do a sequel to this great, one of the greatest games of all time, and you're like, well, what if it was 3 times as big and we added a whole new set of gameplay mechanics to it? So it's like, didn't anyone be like, we don't need to do all this, you guys. People will play it if we just make everything upside down.
This is the hardest part of the show. We have to figure out what is the question of the week. Who submitted the best question from the community? Who gets the I'm 8-Bit prize?
Oh, I was supposed to write that down.
You were supposed to write down every single name. Let's see.
What were the best parts of
Let me skim. We got cool animals. We got tabletop.
That's an early vote from me.
Cool
I think
animals.
villains.
We got villains. That's true. We got the Boy and the Heron. That led some directions. What's that, Tim?
It was taking the mood for granted.
Taking the mood for granted.
Never gotten that one.
The mood was good, yeah.
Yep, that's true. Talking about Psych Odyssey and getting used to being filmed. But Tim, you're the guest of honor, man. You get the final call.
I'm gonna go with the moon. That's a unique one.
Wow, nice. There we go. Yeah. Ian Miller, you just got the prize from I'm 8-Bit. Thanks to Tim Schafer. Thanks so much, everybody, for writing
just
in.
Just because it was so off topic.
Yeah, perfectly off topic. Now it's time for something that we call Get a Load of This.
Is there music right now?
There is. Yeah. You can't hear it, but trust us, it's impeccable.
As soon as we went into it, I'm like, I don't think anyone told Tim that there was music during this one.
And you can take your time. You can go last if you don't have anything, Tim. You can think of something good. It can be small. But get a load of this. I was listening to a Fresh Air interview recently, and this is one of those things that maybe we all learned at some point and forgot about. But they were talking about the history of LSD, and they brought up that in the 1960s, that NASA funded experiments to give LSD to dolphins in the attempt to communicate with dolphins. And this was an ongoing thing funded by NASA, which is the part that just blows my mind.
There are parts of that study that they probably did not talk about on Fresh Air because stuff got weird.
Oh, no, they did talk about it. I'm just not talking about it here because it has a weird, dark ending for sure. But just a good slice of U.S. history there that's worth reflecting on for a moment. Anybody else got one they want to jump in?
Get a load of this. We all love The Holdovers, one of the best movies of last year. I had the moment of thinking, well, obviously, what a beautifully shot on film movie, and then learning that it was, in fact, not shot on film, it was digital. There's a really cool article in Filmmaker magazine about how they made it look like it was shot on film that has like a bunch of really nerdy camera stuff in it. But one of them is they talk about how like when actual film is being pulled through a camera, it like shakes a little bit because it's a physical thing being pulled. And so in order to replicate that, they motion tracked a sample of 35 millimeter film and then mapped the digital images onto that like motion tracked shaking. And so it's just, there's this like imperceptible jitter that tells your brain that it's on film.
That's awesome. Janet, you have one?
Yeah, get a load of this. The Met Museum they have a TikTok account and they do some really cool like behind the scenes content about things happening at the museum. There's one video that came across my page that's talking about Degas's the sculpture known as the little 14-year-old dancer, like the girl with the bow, hands behind the back, all of that. And it's just talking about what it takes to do conservation on a piece like that, which includes going into the history of the piece itself, where it was like originally made with like human hair and like tinted beeswax and all these things that couldn't really carry through the test of time. So just the way the piece has physically changed, like kind of been layered so that's even more sculpture than it used to be, but then also trying to restore the iconic skirt of that statue or sculpture while also still trying to capture the essence of like what were they going for at the time. And that's, like largely the work of like curation in general, or not curation, but like restoration. Art restoration is just a really fun aspect of museums that I feel like it is very easy to not clock that, oh man, that's totally, of course, yeah, they're restoring the pieces. They're not just existing like that forever. And I think it's such a fun, like I worked at a museum when I was younger, and it's such an interesting blend of art and science and so many different skills melded together. So that video is awesome, and just their page in general has a lot of fun factoids like that.
Sweet. Links below for all this fun stuff. Tim, zero pressure if you want to pass, but you have something to share?
Well, I mean, I'm embarrassed because my used to have in college a fun fact that always killed. But as I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, no one knows what that is anymore. And that's what's sad about getting older. So there you go.
Oh, come on. You got to get it to us
Here it is. Get a load of this. Did you know that Michael Nesmith's mother invented liquid paper? I tell that now. People are like, who's Michael Nesmith and what's liquid paper?
No, people.
But it really was interesting back then. Michael Nesmith played guitar for the Monkees. Oh, that's a band that used to exist. And liquid paper is what you would paint over your mistakes when you typed on a typewriter. Like this is the most archaic fact now of all. It's like, did you know King Tut's mother?
Well, there's that. Janet, didn't you share the Jack Black's mom thing the other week?
I think that was me.
That was Ben, yeah.
Yeah, that she worked at NASA.
Why did you say it, Ben, like you don't know for a fact it's you? Oh, I think that was me.
I think actually I claimed that one.
Was you.
Like a kind of smart thing that I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jack
I feel
Black's
like we were all
mom.
complimenting me when I said that. I have kind of a vague memory of it.
Yeah, Jack Black's mom worked at NASA and gave the LSD to dolphins. I think, if I remember the story correctly. Okay. Let's see. Oh, from the community. Oh, by the way, Tim, Austin Winterino podcast plugged this, and I had no idea, but you mentioned typewriters, made me think of it. That Brian Min, who used to work on the audio team at Double Fine, right? That he's making typewriters now for iPads, and they look freaking sweet.
Yeah, he's really always been into mechanical keyboards, and he made these kind of cyberpunk-looking ones.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen his newest stuff, but they're probably pretty crazy.
They're cool. I hope to collaborate in some way with them in the future. Anyways, from the Get a Load of This channel for the community in the Discord there, everybody shares stuff all day, every day, but only interesting stuff. And Pseudosis shared a link to a video that I completely forgot exists, but they say, I still can't believe, this is a tweet, where they say, I still can't believe that MTV used the files for the Revenge of the Sith video game to make Anakin Skywalker sing Take Me Out by Franz Ferdinand to a crowd of clone troopers and it was a real thing that was aired on live TV. It's the most 2005 thing I've ever seen. Yeah, so these video game assets to just recreate Take Me Out in the music video, but with Anakin singing. And there's a link below if you want to relive what it was like to watch MTV in 2005, because it's good times. That's it. Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, letting me crash your party and talk about that documentary once again. Day of the Devs, Day of the Devs, nonprofit, dayofthedevs.com. Sorry about my headphones.
No, that's all good. Okay, Day of the Devs, go there and you can make what happen?
Oh, you can find out about how to get involved in the fundraising or just read about Day of the Devs and come to our next show. And if you're around for GDC in San Francisco, come to the Day of the Devs live show. It's also going to be a show at the MoMA. We're going to show games there like the works of art they are. Perfect. All right, link below for all that fun stuff. Let's see, on the MinnMax front, Jacob and I, speaking of video game documentaries, we're going to be covering Grounded 2 is the plan, the documentary that's coming out this week. I think it's coming out on Friday about the making of The Last of Us Part 2. I'm very curious to watch that, see how it goes. Bonus Pod, which is our Patreon exclusive podcast that Haley McLean hosts. This episode was a great one. It was Haley and Kelsey Lewin talking about Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, a little bit more about the state of Pal World, since Haley is a video game IP lawyer. She has endless thoughts on that, but they're actually informed, so you should check them out. And it made us laugh. There's a comment on YouTube because I made a clip of them talking about Like a Dragon, and the comment was like, this content's too good. You need to show this to everybody. It's like, well, that's the goal. We're trying to make really good content so that people jump in on Patreon and unlock it every single week. So shout out to Haley McLean for rocking Bonus Pod. So you can check that out in the Bonus Podcast feed. Otherwise, let's see, at MinnMax, full circle from last week. Remember on this podcast last week, we were joking around about yearbooks and superlatives in yearbooks, most likely to yada, yada, yada. And then I think Jacob Gallery made a joke about like, oh, New Show Plus, you should call up that person that you won funniest person of the class with back in 2005, Ben, and see if they're still funny. And we did that. It won the poll. And so the class clowns from 2005 reunited. It's this person, Kayla, that I'm vaguely friends with. So it was a fun trip down memory lane. And the weird thing is seeing people be like, yeah, hearing two people talk about their high school experience from 20 years ago that I have no reference for is still oddly compelling. So it's the greatest compliment I could ask for. So you can check that out on YouTube or in the Bonus Podcast feed as well if you want a good taste of rural Minnesota high school life. And it delighted me because it's been so long since I talked to her. So when I called her up, though, I was just delighted because immediately I was like, oh, that's right. She has like a thick Minnesotan accent. And I'm so glad that she does that. Like we can broadcast this to the world because it's the best. It's still related. Like when you look at someone else's yearbook, you see like, wait, I know that guy. I know that guy. We had that guy. We had that girl. Yes. Like, there's a corresponding person almost for everyone you know in someone else's high school. Yeah. It's like poetry. It all rhymes, man. Well, hey, I think that's how it works. Again, a reminder, thank you so much for supporting the show, everybody. You can go on Patreon and join the $50 tier if you want to become a game champion. These people are declared the official game champion of any game under the sun, but they chose these. So Procyon number 6 chose Ghost of Tsushima. Bezlo chose Time Travel Adventures. Julie Wilcox is the champion of Scarlet Hollow. Malcolm Holliday is the champion of Gravity Circuit. Andre Silva is the champion of Dark Cloud. PrettyGoodPrinting.com, the champion of Lost Magic. Jessica Starr is the champion of Child of Light. And Patrick Polk once again chose Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, one of the greatest games of all time to be declared the champion of. And that's it. Tim, thanks again for joining us, man.
Any wise words, any lessons we should keep in mind from you as we bow out of here?
Thank you, everybody. Nice to be here.
Yeah, lovely.
I'll come up with a better fun fact, more current. Something about Taylor Swift next time.
Okay, cool. Next time, sounds good. All right, thanks so much, everybody. Oh, Jacob, you had something you wanted to plug too. I'm sorry.
Carrots.
Something Rotten podcast. It's relevant to multiple people here. Double Fine employee Harper J was on the Something Rotten podcast talking about the end of Metal Gear Solid 2. Great discussion. She is a scholar of that series. And then Ben Hansen and Dan Reichert were on a Nebula exclusive episode of the Something Rotten podcast talking about meeting Kojima, talking about all sorts of things Metal Gear inspired. I talked about Antonio Gramsci. It was a great time. So listen to that.
Yeah, check it out. It was a fun
Something
chat.
Rotten podcast.
There we go. Sweet. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. That's it for this episode. Until next time, be good, have fun. Let's go.
Bye.